Hey guys, thanks for joining me today on Brian's Train Room. Hope you get a chance to check out some of the other episodes and shorts that I've done. Pretty interesting stuff, so please check it out. On today's episode, we're talking promotions. What do I mean by that? Well, in 1960, Lionel had a track layout contest or so that they came out with, which was really cool. There's some pretty good prizes associated with it, and we'll talk a little about that and some of the promotions associated with that. What was really interesting is that every entry became a shareholder. You actually got something back for every entry. What do you mean by shareholder? Well, a shareholder in the company? You mean the Lionel Corporation? Not exactly. But the Lionel Railroad Company, that's pretty cool, and that's coming your way. Okay, so this is a 1960 catalog, and this is the front cover of it too. Inside's all the fun stuff from 1960. On the back catalog is where it talks about the exciting Lionel Railroad Company track layout contest, and this gives the instructions, all the things that we'll go over in just a little bit too. What's neat is inside each catalog from 1960 is the instructions where it shows some of the layouts. This is for Super O track, and this says the Super O diagrams for the Lionel Railroad Company track layout contest. So the small, the medium, and the large of the contest here. This next page over here, go one back, shows for the 027 and O gauge. Again, these are the layouts that you had to put together for the track layout contest in whatever gauge that you chose, which was really great. They even show, this is really neat too, if you go kind of the next page where it just shows kind of some layouts. This is very similar to one of the ones that they wanted you to do. Notice how you need a ZW to run all this stuff. Now, what was really neat is they also presented a secondary catalog. Notice how it looks very similar to the cover, but has, for extra copies of this track layout contest, write Lionel Advertising Department. And over here, it says instruction sheet for track layout contest. Okay, so if we put this to the side, we can take a look and it opens up. It's basically the same back cover as we just showed in the 1960 catalog. But when you open it up, it says, hey, here's all the track that you would use. All right, and so it says here's a guide for the track, 027, O, Super O, and HO. And then on this side, this says diagrams for the Lionel Railroad Company track layout contest. So it says the track requirements that would be needed to create each of the layouts that was recommended to be made so that you can take a photo and send it in. It's a really kind of neat little fold out, which is essentially the front cover and the back. So if you ever see some paper and you're like, hey, that looks like the 60 catalog, but it has these, this is the entry form or the information sheet that would have been handed out for this particular contest. Pretty cool stuff. So this is the standee that came along with the 1960 track layout contest sort of set. It's basically a heavy-duty cardboard standee with the Lionel guy kind of hanging off of the side. If you flip it over, it has the little backing to make sure it stays up. The little guy's off to the side. These guys are a little fragile, but I love these so much. They're super cool. And basically, when you're looking at it, starts off Lionel, leader in model railroading, 027, Super O, HO. You can win $1,000, $500, $250 in the exciting Lionel Railroad Company's track layout contest. What's really cool too is right up here it also says plus 500 wonderful additional prizes of Lionel motorized units and accessories worth up to $15 each. Remember, $15 in 1960 was about $75 worth of value. That's pretty awesome. When you take a look at the rest of the board here, it starts talking about the junior layout. It has a $250 first prize. The intermediate layout is a $500 first prize. And the advanced layout is a $1,000 first prize. We're going to read down below. It says it's fun. You can be a winner. Here are all you do. So then it kind of gives a little bit of the description of how it works. So just select any of the 3 train layouts shown here. Build the layout with Lionel rolling stock and accessories of your own choice, and anything else you want to add. You can use either O27, O, Super O, or HO, track, cars, and other equipment. Use your imagination. Make sure your layout is exciting as possible. Ask your friends and family to help you. After you've completed your layout, take a picture of the layout and send it in as your entry in the Lionel Railroad Company Track Layout Contest. You can be a winner. Now below there's an important part, and the important part says the track, switches, accessories, locomotives, rolling stock, accessories, transformers, and power packs must be of Lionel manufacturer. Any merchandise used to dress up the layout can be of your own choice or even of your own making. Contestants must be no older than 16 years of age, and the contest ends January 31st, 1961. Enter as many times as you wish, but remember, each entry must consist of a photograph of a different layout. Decision of the judges is final. No entries can be returned. And what's really interesting too is, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, upon receipt of photograph, a stock certificate will be sent to you. And that's really neat too. All right, and that's this right here. Okay, this is extra special. And it says, become an honorary stockholder by entering this contest. As an honorary Lionel stockholder, you will receive your very own stockholder certificate and the right to vote for the Lionel Railroad Company Board of Directors and help select next year's cars and accessories. And right over here, it shows the Lionel Railroad Company stock certificate, and we're going to explore this coming up. Okay, so entering the contest was one thing, but if you did enter the contest, what was really neat is you would become a stockholder. A stockholder in what? It's like, well, you get this cool envelope and you say, what's going on in here when I get this? I said, well, this is coming from the Lionel Railroad Company. All right, box 202, New York, 10, New York. And this was dated or sent December 1st, 1960 with postage of 4 cents. And it was addressed to Master, and I kind of ruzzed over just for privacy purposes. I don't know if this person's still around, but just to be on the safe side, it was to Master so. Okay, in other words, it would have been to Master Brian's train room, right? Well, and the reason they do that, it wasn't a Mrs. or a Mrs. This is how you would just address a child, by the way, okay? But this is the envelope. So what did you get? So this envelope was sent and it has all the contents in it. We're going to see what's inside. So it's opened a little bit awkwardly, but we're going to open it this way. And here's what's inside of the envelope is you would get, looks like some other stuff here. So the first thing you'd get is you would get your certificate. Dun, dun, dun. So this is the stock certificate. We'll go into detail with this in a little bit too. This is the Lionel Railroad Company. His name was Stephen, but everything looked really good there, and I'll show that to you in a minute. You also got this really cool letter, and the letter is, we'll go through this a little bit. It says to Master so-and-so, dear shareholder, we'll go through this in just a few minutes. And then you also got this really cool pin, okay? And I'll show that in detail in just a little bit too. So if you entered the contest, you became a shareholder, and this is some of the cool stuff that would come your way. Okay, so here's a close-up of the letter that would have come in the envelope to be a shareholder. It had nice little letterhead here from the Lionel Railroad Company. It had the chairman, which is Arthur Lubitz. It had all the different individuals who were involved with this. And then it basically said, so to Master Stephen, blah, blah. It said, okay, dear shareholder, enclosed, you will find your certificate and official badge. signifying that you are the holder of one share of stock in the Lionel Railroad Company. In the future, you will receive your company's annual report, information on American railroads and American businesses, and will be eligible to compete in the contest to design new equipment for the Lionel line of model trains. It is a pleasure to have you as a shareholder, quotes, in the Lionel Railroad Company. We hope you will find this experience enlightening and enjoyable. Sincerely, author Lubitz Jr., right there, Chairman. Pretty cool letter. Okay, so this is the stock certificate, which is really cool. It's kind of like a aqua green color as far as the printing. It has its own little serial numbers associated with it, and my understanding is these are all different for each of the stockholders, as it should be. It says the Lionel Railroad Company that you see here, and it says common stock. This certifies that Stephen is an owner. What's really interesting is this reading right down here. It says you get one share of the common stock of the Lionel Railroad Company. The owners of the common stock of this fictional, very important, fictional company are entitled to one vote for each share of stock held and are fully authorized to share in the knowledge of the railroad industry, American business, and model railroading that will be distributed to all shareholders. The stock is non-transferable and non-negotiable. This certificate is not valid unless registered with the company. It's signed by the president, the chairman of the board. There's also two versions of this certificate. This is the one from 1960, and it has the Lionel Railroad Company and then the seal. It says 1960. I'll show you a little cut-in of what a later version would look like. It has the Lionel L attached in the area where the seal is. So when you take also a look at this certificate, you turn it over on the back. It actually has some more information. I'm not going to read through all this, but basically it starts off, congratulations, you're a shareholder, kind of gives you some things that they were thinking about doing. It talks about the trains and the layout that is in the showroom. And then it also talks about some plans and how to be involved with the company. And it finishes off, the Lionel Railroad Company is an example in miniature of the working of the free enterprise system of Lionel Trains. So really kind of cool. This is pretty cool stuff here, even on the back side of the certificate that came in your envelope as a shareholder. One more thing to note about the certificate here. It says the Lionel Railroad Company. What's really neat too is this was actually made by the Security Banknote Company. Okay. What's interesting about that is this is an actual stock certificate for the Lionel Corporation, okay, which has similar type printing all the way around. And what's also really interesting, you notice how the seal is very similar in that, as well as this was made and printed by the Security Banknote Company. So, which I thought that was really cool that they actually went all the way into actually making these very similar to, as close as possible, an actual stock certificate. That's the kind of stuff that this company does. Pretty cool, neat stuff. Okay, so the last thing that came in the envelope was the pin or the badge, as they would call it. Okay, so basically, this little pin says, I am a Lionel Railroad Company stockholder. Okay, that's what it says here, and it's got kind of the same sort of train, General, and the Santa Fe sort of logo right here that you can see. It's really cool. On the back is kind of this goldish tone here. It's a typical pin of the era. And it was made by the Connote Promotional Inks, New York, New York. Has a little bit of printing right here associated with it, which is really cool. It says, I am a Lionel Railroad Company stockholder. Pretty cool pin. Gotta love it. All in all, what a fantastic promotion. If I was a kid back in 1960 and saw this, I would be building this layout, sending it in, and would absolutely want to be a shareholder and do something to do with trains. What an absolutely fantastic promotion. This is the fun stuff that kids got to do back in that time frame. Absolutely great.
Alright guys, that's my video. Thanks for watching. I certainly appreciate that. I always want to know how to make these videos better. So there's a comment section down below. Send me some comments or some questions. I'm happy to answer them for you. Now I don't do this alone. So I do have a number of fellow collectors and operators who have opened their collections up and shared pieces that I can share with you guys. And that's at the very end. So thanks a lot. Again, thanks for joining me on Brian's Train Room.